Thank you. Funny enough, I've just this time my bladder flare up is different than it has been before. Praise God. I have very painful days, and today I woke up and it's nothing. I can't even tell I have anything wrong. So I'm pleased with that. I know He's working through it. But I was trying to think about what to talk about because I was going to talk about the situation we're in right now, but I feel like if I wait on that, there will be more God moments. And so what I thought I would do, my hat's slipping. I thought I would talk about a time in our early marriage when our family was very young. My one daughter wasn't born, my youngest, and we had moved into the house we're in now. So my oldest daughter was 2.5, and she was born with a medical condition. So I was having to get up. We were having to make sure she eat something and take medication every so many hours. So even though she was 2.5, we weren't getting much sleep at night. And it was very stressful. And then my stepson, who was 14 and a half, 15 at the time, um, his mother had lost her place to live. And that's a whole long, ugly story before you know. But so we moved him in with us full time instead of half time. And he still wanted to go to school in the town where she lived. So I was getting up every morning, and I had a new baby. He was 2, doing him to school with my new baby and my daughter in the car every morning. And during that time, my his older sister, who is not my husband's daughter, but she calls him dad. She was 22, and she didn't have any place to go since her mom lost everything. And you know how I just wanted to be Christ-like. I kept telling my husband, she has nowhere to go. I want to move her in. And he didn't think we should. He was like, I don't think that's good. And I said, you know what? I want to. Now, at the time, something in the back of my mind was saying, no, don't move her in, Michelle. But I was, I felt like maybe this will be good, and I can bond with her, and she can, see that, stepmoms aren't awful. And I think at the time I was being selfish because you can't handle everything, but I wanted her to like me, and I wanted her to see that I was a good person. So we let her move in with some stipulations that she would watch the kids while I took Brandon to school and picked him up, and she would get a job and help us because, as it was, my husband was the only one working, and I had to stop babysitting because my younger son was born, and then I was going to be taking Brandon to school, and you can't just leave in the middle of the day or in the middle of the morning to take. So um, I started growing really resentful because she moved in, but she didn't do anything. She didn't get a job. She didn't get up and help me. She didn't help me with housework. Um, at that time, cell phones, when you use them, it charged. So she was calling people from our home phone on cell phones, making our bills higher. And I was so resentful. And something kept telling me in the back of my mind, she shouldn't be here. You don't want her here. Um, but I felt like we should put other people first. And this is kind of what ties in with, we need to care for ourselves first. And you're putting yourself too thin when you're trying to do everything and be everything to everybody when, I had a young baby and my daughter, and I started getting is that postpartum depression. And I didn't know it. I was feeling so awful about myself. I looked at her, and she's a very beautiful girl, and I was just feeling very insecure, unworthy. I'm not a good mom. All of this was going on. Her and I started bickering because John was gone at work, and she was sleeping late. She wasn't helpful. She wasn't looking for anything. And instead of showing I feel like my anger just, it was awful. My resentment. Um, and I started at night when I would go to bed, I would be almost asleep. And I started like, there would be I'd wake up because it felt like there were bats flying around the room, or just weird things happening in my bedroom. And I would get up and be freaked out. And the next day I would tell John, what was going on. He said, yeah, you're waking up saying there's bats in the room, or something's going on. And so um I just sat down, and was praying like, Lord, I wanted to be a good example to her, to her name is Michelle as well. And I wanted to be a good example to her, and I'm not showing Christ. I'm angry, I'm resentful. What's going on? I'm having these things happen to me at night, and I know that it's my anger, and it's my anxiety and stress, and I'm feeling all this way. And I just kept praying. Well, she kind of didn't listen to everything we were saying, and she would go out and she'd come home at 3 a.m. and she'd wake up the kids, and no matter what we said, she wouldn't listen. And one night, she came in, and we had just had my husband's father passed away, just dropped. So we had that added with money, and then, and I just, I felt so upset at her. And then after I would blow up, I would think, how did that show Christ's love? You know, how did, and it just, there, this thing in my head just kept saying, she is not supposed to be here. She's not, she has a family on her mother's side. I mean, it was just, and it went on for like 6 months. And finally, her and I had pretty much of a blow up where I was like, you got to do this or else, and she left. And for a few years, we had it really rough. We didn't talk to her. There were some things going on. And I had discovered during that time, through praying over and over, that it is nice to help when it is possible. And not, I don't think at that time, I think that my keep hearing not to be that way, and not to have her, was the Lord telling me, your plate is full, and it's only going to cause trouble. And it's only going to cause trouble, and you're trying to help a relationship with her, and it's only going to make it worse, because people aren't like me. They didn't grow up like me. She grew up a whole different way, and she didn't understand my way of thinking, and it just caused tension. Well, in about 2011, we kind of reconnected. And since then, we have a great relationship with her. She has found Christ. Her mom has found Christ. She's much more understanding of everything. And once she left, I never had any more of the bats in my room. There was even actually a time one night where ugly, skeletal, and mean faces would be flying at me and scream. And I, of course, I thought that was my anger. That was everything else. Well, she's getting married June 1st again. She's 44 now. We're very close. And she recently told me that since she had come to Christ, we were talking about that time in our life, and she apologized, and she said, I know that, you had a new baby and just everything that was going on. And she said, but I want you to know something. She said, I was doing tarot cards and the Ouija board in the bedroom. And she said, once I was doing that, I could feel, when I would go to sleep, spirits in my room. And it now has dawned on me that, that's what that was. And when I prayed, they would go away, but they'd be back again. And I let that in the house. And of course, I didn't know it, but I feel like now, after all that, I've learned, it's kind of like what Aja was saying today. I needed to love myself in order to love her. and to put up my boundaries and not spread myself so thin by wanting to have somebody, oh, I need her to see the good side of me. So, but instead she saw the bad side of me. She saw the angry and frustrated side. So, her and I have really talked about it, and it has worked out, and that was a really huge part, a bad time in our marriage and family, but we all got past it. And Brandon, now he's 37 almost, and he's having time in his marriage, so he's living with us again on our couch. But you know this time I'm not putting myself too thin. It's possible. So I hope this was good enough. I couldn't think of anything.